Hello and welcome to Paul Ricard in the south of France for the fourth race of the 2018 Euro Formula Open season. We've got 15 laps around the challenge of the home of the French Grand Prix to look forward to, and we should be in for another afternoon of fantastic racing around this high-speed technical circuit, the second of 8 stops around some of Europe's finest venues, and the season now really well and truly underway. It's hello from Ben Evans. As you can see, you join us on an overcast afternoon in the south of France, with the clouds beginning to form in the hills above the circuit, but the weather forecast suggests that we should be able to have a dry race today, and we should be in for another very entertaining one. Race 1 was claimed by Felipe Drugovich in fairly dominant fashion from Ben Fiscal and Matheus Iorio. In terms of how up to date, it is Drugovich who once more claimed pole position this morning. Very impressive performance again from the Brazilian to be the best part of a second clear of the rest of the field. He will share the front row with his compatriot Matheus Iorio, and there is the pole sitter Felipe Drugovich at the wheel of his RP Motorsport car. He's already claimed 2 wins from the 3 races so far this season. It's then Carlin's Matheus Iorio who lines up with him on the front row of the grid. Ben Fiscal, the top rookie, starts third, and the RT Motorsport driver in the hunt for his 3rd podium of the campaign. The only other driver to have won a race so far this year is Marcus Siebert for the Campos team, and the Argentine's difficult weekend continuing. He'll be starting in 10th place, but hoping to fight his way up through the pack. It's not quite as humid as it was yesterday, and the conditions really actually perfect for the drivers. Fairly still day, cool but not cold, and so therefore the engine, the air should be pumping through the engines quite nicely. We'll be able to get the tyres up to temperature fairly quickly on the magnificent surface of the track here in Paul Ricard. There is Ben Fiscal, RT Motorsport driver, and Fiscal, who's been a top rookie in all 3 races so far this year, has also finished on the podium in successive outings, as the pole sitter Felipe Drugovich just winding his way to the front of the grid. He's looking for a clean sweep of the weekend. There is the sole newcomer that we've got in the championship this weekend. That's Raul Guzman, the Mexican with the Fortec team, and Guzman is going to line up in 13th place after what appeared to be a slightly problematic qualifying session. He had a protracted pit stop mid-session and therefore only had the chance to do 1 flying lap on fresh rubber before the checkered flag came out. So he has plenty to do from 13th, but we saw yesterday it is possible to work your way up through the field. Alex Karkozik, who started at the very back of the pack yesterday, racing up to finish in 7th, and the Polish driver, who you just catch a glimpse of there right in the centre of the picture, lines up in 6th with his new Campos team, having switched across from RP Motorsport for this weekend and the remainder of the season. So here is a look back at the very best of yesterday's race, whereas Ben Fiscal, who got the jump on Felipe Drugovich as they accelerated towards the opening chicane. Fiscal swooping through to take what appeared to be an advantage. However, as they raced down towards turn 4, Drugovich got his nose back in front and thereafter was unheaded. Behind, there was some absolutely fantastic dicing, albeit a little bit too close for comfort at times. Lucas Dunner and Yves Baltas colliding late on, but it was a lights to flag victory for Felipe Drugovich, 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field, with then Fiscal coming home in 2nd place and Matheus Iorio completing the podium. And that result good enough to elevate Fiscal up to 2nd in the championship standings. And for Iorio, it was the 2nd podium of the season to build on the runners-up spot that he obtained in the first race of the year in Estoril. Well, last year for RP Motorsports, Harrison Scott, who was the dominant driver, and so far this weekend, Felipe Drugovich, 2 pole positions, 1 fastest lap, 1 race victory. It means that already has a reasonably commanding lead in the championship. But if you were to point to a weakness, it's been that the Brazilian has struggled to get the car away from pole position a couple of times this year, and therefore that leaves the door open to Matheus Iorio to try and leap past him at the start of the race. The driver in his 2nd year in the championship, and has really clicked well with the Carlin squad. Bentley Scal, just his second event in the championship, but the driver had a great deal of success in Formula 4 last year, showing very strongly from the opening few races. Guilherme Samaya had a career best result yesterday, a pugnacious drive to finish in fourth, and his fine pace and form for the weekend continuing. Another solid qualifying session for the Brazilian, and he is hunting for his first career podium. Cameron Dass has already scored one podium this season. That came in the first race at Estoril, and the American had really good race pace yesterday, but he couldn't quite overhaul Aldo Fastante late on. But a good start for Cameron Dass, and he could be poised to challenge for the rostrum. Alex Karkozic, well, we know he can overtake, and now this is the opportunity from an elevated grid position for Karkozic to add to the 2 podiums that he scored in the championship last year. Scored a maiden podium for the Campos squad. Aldo Fastante, the second rookie on the grid, the Italian, has been getting better and better with each and every race. The RP Motorsport team, and a season's best finish of 5th yesterday, helping him move up the championship order somewhat. Yanis Fitcher left it late in qualifying to post his best lap, but that was good enough to have him heading the Drivex charge, and he lines up in 8th place. A multiple podium finisher last year, and Fitcher we know can race. Here's how they're up in full, with Drugovic, Mateus Iorio on the front row of the grid, ahead of Viscal and Guilherme Samaya, so 3 Brazilians in the top 4. Then Cameron Dass, that's Karkozic on row 3, ahead of Aldo Fastante and Yanis Fitcher, the multinational flavour of the series continuing. The 5th row, Callum Williams, showing brightly in qualifying alongside Estoril race winner Marcus Siebert. Michael Benyard was quick yesterday, but has to fight through from 11th, and Christian Hahn showed very brightly in the race. Raul Guzman then in 13th, ahead of Lucas Dunner, with Yves Baltas completing the field. But what we saw yesterday was that, with the exception of Drugovic, who was able to build a buffer early on, much of the rest of the field stayed together for the whole of the race. So it is going to be a 15-lap race, although if we had a prolonged safety car period, then we'd revert to the 35-minute time limit. And the grid just being cleared for the engines fire up, and then the drivers will be released onto their formation lap. So just the sole mechanic remaining, ready to get the cars started. The crowd getting ready for the action to burst into life. So the countdown continuing ahead of the 4th race of the Euro Formula Open season here at the Paul Ricard circuit, just outside Le Castellet, perched on a plateau above Provence. It's a magnificent venue to go motor racing, and it's a track that has given us plenty of entertainment already this weekend, and it's one where overtaking is possible, and the drivers really have to rely on the setup, their technical ability, but also the opportunity to fashion any overtaking opportunity they can. So the signal given to fire up the engines, and then they've got the sole formation lap just to make sure everything's working, inspect how the grip of the circuit's changed since this morning. There's been a fair amount of track activity since they qualified first thing, so the track might be a little bit more rubbered in, as conference is already underway in the pit boxes. Teo Martin watches from the Teo Martin Motorsport garage. So the black nose cone car of Felipe Drugovic in pole position once more, and he will lead them well on the formation lap. Drugovic, 2 races in succession, a pole margin of almost a second. It's a big gap for the rest of the field to bridge, but if Mateus Iorio can get the jump on Drugovic and maybe lead him through the first part of the first lap, then who knows. So away they go. All the drivers, of course, in the Dallara F312 chassis. They've got the control engine and various other control component supplied by the championship promoters GT Sport, which helps to keep costs to an affordable level, and they run on the Control Michelin tyre, which affords them a great deal of grip and performance. So they just wind through the undulations of turns 1 and 2, the opening chicane, and then there's this blast towards turns 4, 5 and 6. So as they then pick up the pace and then kick on to the Mistral straight, this is where the slipstream starts to really come into effect. As they head towards the chicane, comes midway down the straight. The heat haze shimmering off the track surface. So you can overtake into the chicane. What we also saw yesterday was drivers towing up to be right behind their rivals as they got into the chicane, and then being able to jump them on the exit as they ran down the second half of the straight towards the Courbe du Cygne, which is a bold place to try and overtaking manoeuvre. So they get on the throttle here as early as they possibly can, carry as much momentum down the back straight, because relatively speaking, the Formula 3 cars have relatively more grip than power, and so they need to carry as much corner exit speed as possible. So into the Courbe du Cygne, the very, very quick right-hander. At that point, the road falls away into the final sector of the lap, which is another technical section, the double right-hander at turn 11, which really forces the drivers to just keep the line tight. Again, we saw plenty of passing yesterday before. Then the left-hander at turn 13 as the track winds back towards the pit complex. For Felipe Drugovich, the job in hand is just getting the car off the line cleanly. He, in the opening race of the year, almost got jumped by Matheus Iorio. He did get jumped by Ben Fiscal yesterday. Iorio and the others just trying to get as much heat into the Michelin tyre as possible. They want to get the tyre up to temperature as best they can at the start of the race. That means they can have the confidence to push on the first lap. It's a relatively short sprint as well from the start line towards the opening complex, as Drugovich in the black, silver and orange RP Motorsport car rolls to his marks in pole position. Want to wait too long on the grid either for everybody formed alongside him. It's the royal blue Carling car of Matheus Iorio alongside him. Then on the second row, the predominantly white car with the red and blue flashing. That's Ben Fiscal, the Teo Marti Motorsport car with Guilherme Samaya. Similar RP Motorsport car with the yellow and blue helmet. Kouros on the Fortec team watching on the monitors as the last couple of cars coming into position. And somebody appeared to be waving there. Looks like it's all sorted. So the green flag is shown at the back of the pack. Eyes the gantry about to go racing once more in 2018. As the lights come on, the revs rise, and away we go. And once more, Felipe Drugovich a little bit hesitant, but Matheus Iorio an even worse start, and he is going to get jumped maybe by Guilherme Samaya as they're almost 3 wide into the first couple of turns. Samaya and Iorio absolutely side by side. Ben Fiscal down to 4th then as Callum Williams gets kicked out wide, but should hold on to his place. They're all cleanly through the first couple of turns, and already Drugovich trying to break clear. It's being helped somewhat by Iorio, boxing up those behind him, and a great move from Cameron Das, who jinks to the inside of Ben Fiscal and snatches the place. Somebody's gone very, very wide. Alex Karkozic trying to gain a little bit of ground, as is Aldo Fastante. And running out very wide is Karkozic. Marcus Siebert's also had a good start to the race. He's right there behind Fastante as they come down the Mistral straight for the first time. It's Drugovich who's got the advantage. Then Iorio, then Guilherme Samaya, Cameron Das in 4th, Ben Fiscal in 5th. Many others jostling for 6th, almost 3 wide. It's Marcus Siebert who is going to take advantage. And it's been a very good first half lap of the race for the Argentine. Also trying to gain a little bit of ground is Michael Benyar as he jinks in front of Callum Williams, but already Drugovich trying to break away. Matheus Iorio trying to stay with him and shake off Guilherme Samaya. as Benyard defends from Williams and Christian Hahn as they head down through the Courbe de Seine. Alex Karkozic and Marcus Siebert busy doing battle. Siebert, who's got his nose in front of Karkozic as they fight for 6th and 7th position. Climb up into turn 12. Yanis Fitcher has lost that a little bit on this first lap. He's now slipped behind Aldo Festante as Felipe Drugovic is going to come through at the end of this first lap and be some way clear. Yves Baltas also hasn't had a bad first few corners. He is getting a couple of places, looking for a little bit more. There's going to be a tag is there in the background. I think they've just about avoided each other. That was Callum Williams, who was under real threat from Yves Baltas. So already Drugovic leads by 1.8 seconds from the chasing pack behind. As they fight through the chicane, Viscal looking to recover and get onto terms with Cameron Das. Das trying to chase Guilherme Samaya. Raul Guzman all a bit sideways. He's got Lucas Dunner challenging him as well. As the cars just run downhill towards turn 5, then picking up the throttle through turn 6. And the leading group just a little bit spread as running wide through turn 6 is Ben Viscal. Now, is that going to open up the opportunity maybe for Marcus Siebert as they accelerate towards the chicane? Viscal, it appeared, had to get out of the throttle, and the Campos driver is certainly closing up onto the Teo Martin Motorsport man. Iorio likewise has got Samaya venturing towards him, and Marcus Siebert goes around the outside of Ben Viscal under braking. Great move from Siebert, and that all came from the small mistake from Viscal, who is now under threat again from another Campos car. This time it's Alex Karkozic. Viscal covers the inside line. Karkozic looking to the outside track down through the Courbe de Seine, and Karkozic's going to pull the move off. Very well done. Now, can he cover across the line? Yes, he can. And that is all bringing Aldo Festante into the fight, as well as Karkozic slithers wide on the second part of turn 11. But he's got the inside line for turn 12, or does he? Viscal looks for the cutback, tries to swoop to the inside. Yanis Fitcher and Michael Benyaya, all part of this scrap as well. As they come towards the final couple of corners on the lap, Benyaya to the inside of Fitcher, who in turn is to the inside of Festante, who is... Oh, well, that's a very nice move from Yanis Fitcher. Can he pull it off? He saw half a gap there. Pushes Aldo Festante out wide, and the German gains the place. But for how long? Because Benyaya is bobbing and weaving. So is Festante, and so is Christian Hahn as well. These four cars, very little between them as they head towards turns 1 and 2. And the place regained by Aldo Festante. Fitcher committed to the inside line, just had to back off a little bit more. His rival is Benyaya, still trying to find a way past Christian Hahn. That's bringing Callum Williams into the mix. Oh, it's 3 wide, almost interlocking wheels, and Callum Williams takes 2 places, or does he? He slithers wide as they run down through turns 4 and 5. He's going to rejoin, and he's going to have to give both those places back. It's the right idea from Callum Williams. He just couldn't quite slow the car down enough, and after several corners of really intense fighting, they just about settle themselves down again. So Drugovic leads 3 seconds clear of Mateus Iorio, who's got 8/10 of a second over Guilherme Samaya. Then it's Cameron Das in 4th. 5th is Marcus Siebert. 6th, Alex Karkozic. 7th, Ben Viscal. 8th, Aldo Ferrante. 9th, Yanis Fitcher. And completing the top 10 at the moment is Christian Hahn. But from 2nd through to 15th, it's all one big train with no more than 1.1 seconds between any given car. So what can Guilherme Samaya do about Mateus Iorio front of the field? What can Cameron Das do about Guilherme Samaya? Meanwhile, Christian Hahn and Michael Benyaya still busy battling. And Hahn, for the moment, fending off the Moroccan for the final points-paying position. Callum Williams just behind as well, regrouping himself after the action early on in the lap. Baltas, Lucas Dunner and Raul Guzman all part of that scrap as well. Christian Hahn briefly even looked like an inviting gap to the inside at the penultimate corner. Benyaya knowing better than to bite as Raul Guzman accelerates through the final turn in pursuit of Lucas Dunner. Drugovic's lead has gone out. Iorio pulling away from Samaya on that last lap, who gave away a couple of tenths to Cameron Das. So that's going to be a battle worth watching for. Stante and Yanis Vicia still trying to come back onto the tail of Bentley Scal. So here is the race leader, Felipe Drugovic, who's led all but about 350 metres this weekend. And again, once he's got out front, he's just able to demolish the field in the early stages and then ease away from them thereafter. Fight for second, third and fourth, however, could come together nicely, particularly with Marcus Siebert and Alex Karkozik chasing in fifth and sixth. Another look at the start. And a deceptively smooth getaway from Felipe Drugovic as the Iorio had to defend from Guilherme Samaya through the opening exchanges. As Iorio and Samaya did battle, that allowed Drugovic already by this stage to break the toe. It's behind Cameron Das, swooping past Bentley Scal. Really nice opportunistic move from Das to snatch fourth position and then thrusting Viscal into the clutches of others. Meanwhile, Michael Benyar still right with Christian Hahn in the fight for 10th and 11th position. Callum Williams back with them. And this has been a very good lap for Mateus Iorio, who appears to have decisively broken away from Guilherme Samaya, who's now got Cameron Das right up behind him. And if the pair of them start squabbling, it is going to invite Marcus Siebert and Alex Karkozik into the mix as well. Iorio picks his way through the final turn, through to the conclusion of the fourth lap of the race. Now here is the fight for third, and Cameron Das really is right with Guilherme Samaya. Now we saw yesterday that the American in the blue Carlin car seemed to have very good race pace. We also saw that Guilherme Samaya was a very, very difficult man to overtake. So this could be really quite an interesting scrap. Das is decisively within the toe. Carlin team hoping for the second time this year to get both their cars onto the podium. Now for Cameron Das, the key is going to be here through turn 6. Can he get underneath the rear wing of Guilherme Samaya and maybe tow himself into contention's challenge into the chicane, or if not at the chicane, then later on the Mistral straight. But Samaya and Das, that last lap, they were a couple of tenths quicker than Marcus Siebert, so they're easing away from the Campos team scrap going on for 5th and 6th. That releases Cameron Das to have his own fight. Alex Karkozik certainly fancying the opportunity to maybe challenge and overhaul Marcus Siebert and himself in pursuit of a podium. Already Felipe Drugovic has been and gone. Iorio flashes through in second, then the fight for third and fourth not yet quite come together. Karkozik really getting onto terms with Marcus Siebert. Siebert, though, just picking his line. It's going to make Alex Karkozik do all the hard work. They've still got a lot of racing to go. The end of this lap will just be at 1/3 race distance. And Siebert, as befits a driver of his experience, just focusing on the corner exits. That's where he knows that the door's not going to open itself for Alex Karkozik. So Karkozik having a look and trying to fill his teammates' mirrors at every opportunity as Felipe Drugovic sets another fastest lap of the race. Samaya setting a personal best lap of the race with Cameron Das prodding him all the way. Marcus Siebert again about a tenth slower than Guilherme Samaya. Bentley Scal in 7th. Still the top rookie in the race, but unable as yet to get on terms with the Campos cars. And what's interesting to see here is that Cameron Das, through sectors 1 and 3, is appreciably quicker than Guilherme Samaya, but Samaya maybe just running a little bit less wing on the car. Seems to be very slippery in a straight line. But Das a little bit nearer than he was last time around. Is he going to force Samaya to defend into the chicane, go a little bit offline? The camera angle foreshortens it somewhat. Certainly Das is much nearer. Not quite near enough to have a go though. So into the chicane, just a car length between them. But what Das will do, he can, is get on the power as early as possible. Minimal corrections on the exit of the chicane. And that means that Samaya may well have to defend as they head towards the Courbe du Cygne. You can barely see Cameron Dassey's perched somewhere just behind Guilherme Samar as they swoop through the Corps de Scene and then run down into turn 11. And this time Das goes for it, he looks to the inside, almost interlocking wheels, and Das is going to try and force the move. He pushes Samar out wide. Guilherme Samar gives him racing room. Great stuff as they climb up towards turn 12. Das looking one way then the other, but Samar has withstood that challenge. Really fine defensive driving from Guilherme Samar, but it's not over just yet. Cameron Das still carrying a lot of speed. Still a couple of corners to go on this lap, and Das looking every which way. Can he challenge to the inside into the final turn? Doesn't need to. Instead, covering that inside line very tightly is Guilherme Samar, and that allows Cameron Das to carry the momentum down the start and finish straight. And look, in the background, Marcus Siebert immediately with them as Samar's pace suddenly plummets. And Samar squeezes Das. They run side by side into turns 1 and 2. Again, Samar slightly offline. Das playing the long game, looking for the undercut as they head towards turns 3 and 4. Samar, however, defending, almost touching wheels. And this is really aggressive stuff from both of them. But Cameron Das is going to pull the move off, or is he? Guilherme Samar just defends and then takes to the escape road. Where's he going to rejoin? He's probably got to concede that position to Cameron Das. Indeed, he does. And joins right in front of Marcus Siebert. Great racing. And Samar defended that as hard as he reasonably could. And Cameron Das absolutely fearless in forcing the move. And now Guilherme Samar is at risk of losing 2 more places because the Campos twins of Siebert and Karkozik right on his tail. Samar defending the inside line. Siebert trying to take the outside track, and it's Marcus Siebert who's the loser here, because he gets past Alex Karkozik. Neither of them passed Guilherme Samar on that occasion, and all the while as Samar defends, it is giving Cameron Das some daylight. And again, Samar almost touching there with Alex Karkozik. Certainly a couple of wheels brushed because there's a puff of smoke. So they head towards the Corps de Scene, and still Samar's got the place. Now Siebert looks to the outside of his teammate. Karkozik thinks about the inside line to turn 11. Nothing doing. And this is great wheel-to-wheel dicing. Ben Fiscal about to join the scrap as well. They're all contesting 4th place. In front of the field, it's still Drugaric from Yorio and now Cameron Das, but then all bets are off for 4th. And Guilherme Samar just able to regroup for a corner or 2 as Marcus Siebert attempts to reclaim the place that he lost to teammate Karkozik. Here comes Ben Fiscal in the Teo Martin Motorsport car. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Aldous Vestante, Yanis Fitcher and Michael Benyaya. It's Fiscal who's got the run as he looks to challenge Siebert. Siebert covers the inside line. Fiscal looks to the outside into the chicane, and Siebert, the car, trying to break away from him. So the aerodynamic grip cries enough, and Fiscal is able to swoop through, takes the place, moves up into 6th as a result. More behind, Vestante forcing Siebert to cover the inside line as they head in towards turns 4 and 5. Oh, very, very close. Yanis Fitcher and Michael Benyaya also part of that fight. So really, 3rd through to 10th, all fairly close contention. Although that defence from Marcus Siebert has allowed Guilherme Samar and Alex Karkozik to break away a little bit. And now Karkozik doesn't have to worry about his mirrors, can just focus on the car ahead of Guilherme Samar. Fiscal has to cover the inside line to a hard-charging Marcus Siebert, who looks to the outside, and Siebert absolutely determined to thrust his way past. The rear wing judders as Siebert gets on the power as early as he dares. Campos team, I think, are enjoying this. We certainly are, as Siebert covers the inside line, heading towards Corps de Scene. Fiscal looks to challenge to the outside. That's a really brave move. He's come from a long way back, and Fiscal gets pushed out wide. Siebert doesn't know which way to defend. He's got Vestante to one side, Fiscal to the other. He's able to fend both of them off momentarily. And for the 2nd race in succession, we have got some absolutely ferocious dicing going on inside the 2nd half of the top 10. Really great racing. Absolutely no quarter given. Oh, and a mistake there from Siebert. Half a gap for Fiscal. He can't take advantage. Therefore, Vestante, Benyaya, and Yanis Fitcher can't take advantage either. So here is another look, and Fiscal Clearly felt he had to take evasive action. There's the mistake from Marcus Siebert. Oh, the rear of the car just trying to kick away from the Argentine. And now Michael Benyar coming at teammate Aldo Fastante, and Fastante offline through turn 1. That's the opening for the Moroccan. Or is it? I think he probably got through, and Yanis Fitcher fancies his chances as well. Fastante, though, we've seen in every race so far this year, can drive a wide car. That's the case once more, but as he defends, it brings Christian Hahn and Callum Williams into the scrap as well. So it momentarily settles down ahead of them, with Marcus Siebert just a little bit clear of Bent Viscal. Meanwhile, Guillaume Samar in 4th is just able to buy himself a little bit of a buffer over Alex Karkozic, so instead it's all eyes on the scrap for 7th and beyond. Michael Benyar right up with Ben Viscal. This is the battle for the lead in the rookie class as well. And Viscal has finished on the top step of the rookie podium in every race so far this season. But now we've got the top 3 rookies in the field all running together. Viscal, Benyar and Fastante. Michael Benyar going for the move at the Corp du Scene. Looks to the outside line. And it's going to be a drag race to turn 11. And Benyar should pull that off. He doesn't quite. He had his nose in front, but then had to get on the brakes. He was slightly offline for turn 11, so Viscal lives to fight another day. But then it's his turn to run wide, and again Benyar looks for the move. It's chopped in front of him, and Aldo Fastante regains the position, and now Benyar loses all his momentum. Yanis Fitcher comes into the fight as well in the black and orange Drivex car. Benyar gets his elbows out and barges Fitcher aside as they head through the penultimate turn, and Yanis Fitcher, not overly impressed by that, has a bit of a lunge into the final turn. So 9 laps completed, just 6 to go, and now Christian Hahn taking a turn to challenge his teammate. And this is the thing, when the cars are so even, as soon as they slow each other down, even for a couple of corners, it just allows the rest of the pack to bunch up behind them. And a lap ago, Michael Benyar looked like he was going to be challenging for 7th. He's now fighting tooth and nail to hold on to a spot in the top 10 as Callum Williams looks for a move on Christian Hahn, who shows Williams the way to the runoff area. Williams backs out of the move. It brings Yves Baltas and Lucas Dunner into the scrap as well. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Felipe Drugovic leads 6.6 seconds up the road ahead of Cameron Dass. Here is another look as Viscal ran wide and Benyar was committed. Viscal just carved across and reclaimed the racing line. And that was probably not to the satisfaction of the RP Motorsport team. So Drugovic leads, Iorio 2nd, Cameron Dass in 3rd, Guillaume Smyer 4th, Alex Karkozic 5th, Marcus Siebert in 6th. There's the trainer cars, and they're all a little bit spread until you get to Ben Viscal in 7th, and then it's all kicking off behind him. And again, Michael Benyar coming back onto terms with teammate Aldo Fastante. And they might well be teammates, but they're all out for each other. And now it's Fastante who runs by Benyar again, looking for the inside line. There's not a whole heap of space there. They give each other just enough room. They run side by side, though, as they head towards the last couple of turns on the lap. Fastante squeezing Benyar. Benyar has none of it and makes the move stick. Although Fastante will look to try and fight back through the final turn, Benyar parks the car in the middle of the road. He'll just compromise a little bit of exit speed there, and that might give the opportunity to Aldo Fastante to challenge. Indeed it does. The Italian tucked right underneath the Moroccan's rear wing. Just a third of the race to run as the yellow-helmeted Fastante looks to the outside of Michael Benyar. Benyar covers the inside line. Fastante just swoops across, takes the racing line, possibly sacrificed a little bit of momentum there. Just making sure that they all made it through the corner cleanly. So tumbling downhill before they get propelled down the Mistral straight. It's now turning Yanis Fitcher to get onto terms with Aldo Fastante once more. Fastante a little bit wide through turn 6. Whether or not Fitcher will be able to take advantage yet. Front of the field, Guillaume Samaya still just trying to ease away from Alex Karkozic. It's going to be a battle worth keeping tabs on as Christian Hahn which shows himself in Yanis Fitcher's mirrors. Cameron Das in third through the Corps de Sim. Then the fight for fourth. And that gap has come down ever so slightly between Samara and Karkozik. Battles behind are continuing to rage. It's all behind Benyaya in eighth. And the rest of the field pretty much has won thereafter. And this is where the concentration levels really start to come through. The race leader, Felipe Drugovic, we've not seen masses of him. He's 7.2 seconds up the road ahead of the rest of the field and doing exactly what he needed to do as he reels off his 11th lap, just 4 to go, which is decisively break away from Mateus Iorio. Iorio, however, looking well set for his third podium in 4 races. So, second runners-up finish of the season on the cards for the Carlin driver. Cameron Das, likewise, will be, I think, happy to net his second rostrum of the season and a big sack full of points that comes with third place. Fourth is still not fully settled yet. Alex Karkozik taking a couple of tenths of a second out Guilherme Smile last time around, and what we've seen is that once you can get into the toe of the car in front, that can just open up those overtaking opportunities. 6th place, Marcus Siebert. 7th is Ben Viscal, who's the top rookie from Michael Benyaya. And then Aldo Fistante in 9th is the third of the rookies, with Yanis Fitcher currently completing the top 10. So in terms of an absolute race finish for Viscal, this is one of his more disappointing performances of the season. But it is going to be potentially another rookie win. Now Karkozik is appreciably closer once more to Guilherme Samaya. The gap at the end of the first sector was 0.75 of a second. They're coming to the end of the second sector now. And it's down fractionally, a few hundredths of a second in favour of Alex Karkozik. Now the question is, to what extent can Karkozik drive through the turbulent air behind Guilherme Samaya through this final sector of the lap? If he can, inch ever closer to Samaya. Fourth place would be certainly Karkozik's best result of the campaign. For Samaya, it would match where he finished yesterday. Meanwhile, Yanis Fitcher challenging to the inside of Aldo Fistante. That is for 9th place. It would appear as if Fitcher has made the move stick. Yes, he has. Now Fistante's got Christian Hahn immediately behind him. So Christian Hahn in the hunt for more points. Felipe Drugovic pounds in another fastest lap of the race. A little bit of a look to the inside from Christian Hahn. And Callum Williams has got a train behind him as well. Yves Baltas and Lucas Dunner both joining the fight too. Just 3 laps to go. Again, a race that's been full of some super scraps all the way through the field. And this is the point yesterday where Lucas Dunner and Yves Baltas collided there once more, running nose to tail. Fighting over 13th and 14th. Dunner's got the luxury of just having shaken off Raul Guzman. The race leader, Felipe Drugovic, almost 8 seconds his advantage over Mateus Iorio. 8 seconds exactly, in fact, through the second sector. And Drugovic is potentially going to get the complete clean sweep of the weekend. 2 poles, 2 fastest laps and 2 race wins. And heading on towards Spa-Francorchamps, it just gives him a nice points buffer. Drugovic winds his way through the last couple of corners on the lap and then in to start the penultimate lap of the race. And the Brazilian just looks so smooth at the wheel of the RP Motorsport car. It's a car that never seems to be out of shape, and yet Drugovic devastatingly effective with it. Mateus Iorio and Cameron Das flying in formation. Last time round, they were separated by just 100th of a second. On that lap, Cameron Das inching a little bit closer to his teammate. Meanwhile, Alex Karkozik is definitely inching ever closer to Guilherme Samar. So the fight for 4th and 5th is now down to just 0.4 of a second, and this is where Karkozic starts to get within biting distance. Both Samar and Karkozic, hard racers. Karkozic just carries a lot of speed into that downhill section. What we'll be aiming for is that not to compromise him on the exit, because what he wants to do is get as near to Guilherme Samar as he can as they head out of turn 7. Samar running out a little bit wide, 2 wheels onto the blue paint. Now, as that delayed him, as they head on to the Mistral straight, doesn't look like it. If anything, the first sector of the lap was probably advantage Samar. The timing screen certainly suggests that that was the case. So it means that Karkozic in the slipstream closes up to the tail of Guilherme Samar rather than is able to threaten him. But Samar slightly offline through the chicane. Certainly on that occasion, Karkozic looking a little bit tidier. And now as they come downhill, Alex Karkozic is attempting to close onto the tail of Guilherme Samar. He's not going to be near enough to challenge into the Courbe du Cygne. But if Samar were to run wide on the exit, that would open the door to Karkozic. Samar doesn't run wide, but still almost opens the door to Alex Karkozic. He starts to fill Guilherme Samar's mirrors. Turn 12, so we've seen a couple of moments as Samar 2 wheels over the curb on the exit of turn 11. Again, he's right out at the edge of the marbles through turn 12. It means that Karkozic is closing onto his tail. Just a lap and a fraction to go. And Karkozic sees half a gap to the inside. It's never really going to work out there. And what he also doesn't manage to achieve as a result is to get Guilherme Samar to go offline through the final corner. So we're into the last lap of the race, and Felipe Drugovich has led all 15 of them. He's keeping the lead over Mateus Iorio, stable at about 8 seconds. But Drugovich built that decisive advantage in the early stages of the race. Thereafter, he's just been able to maintain a buffer that's a couple of tenths of a second a lap quicker than his rivals. So he accelerates on to the Mistral straight for the final time. The RP Motorsport team will just be glad to follow the progress of Drugovich back around on this final lap. This is the point where you're listening to every single beat of the engine, just making sure that it is running as it should do. Mateus Iorio in second position. He should feel very pleased with his weekend's work. 2 podiums, and with Ben Fiscal on course to finish 7th this afternoon. That is going to help Iorio's championship standings. It's through the Courbe du Cygne for the final time. Felipe Drugovich has dominated proceedings here in Paul Ricard. He was the quickest man for much of the free practice. He was comfortably quickest in both qualifying sessions. In both races, he's really shown the field a clean pair of heels. So he's just got a couple of corners to go. Felipe Drugovich has been a class act in Paul Ricard this weekend. He accelerates out of the final corner. The checkered flag goes out, and it greets Felipe Drugovich's 3rd victory of the season, and he does the clean sweep in Paul Ricard for RP Motorsport. 2nd place to Carlin for Mateus Iorio, who can celebrate getting both their cars onto the podium, with a 3rd place for Cameron Das. Meanwhile, the fight for 4th, and Guilherme Samar does just hold off Alex Karkozic. Great battle between the pair of them, with Marcus Siebert across the line in 6th, ahead of Ben Fiscal in 7th, who claims the rookie victory from Michael Benyar in 8th, Yanis Fitcher in 9th, and Aldo Fustante rounding out the rookie podium and the top 10. And the whole field making it safely to the flag. Handshakes for the Carlin team, job done. And here is a look then at the provisional classification. Gentlemen set for Felipe Drugovich, pole position, fastest lap and the race win. Mateus Iorio then just shy of 8 seconds adrift, with Cameron Das having raced really well up through the field to finish 3rd. Guilherme Samar, a really fine weekend for the Brazilian. He finishes 4th, just ahead of Alex Karkozic and Marcus Siebert. Ben Fiscal in 7th, the top rookie once more, ahead of Michael Benyar. He's back in the points. Yanis Fitcher in 9th, and then Aldo Festante completing the top 10 after a hard-fought race. That means that Christian Hahn and Callum Williams just outside the points, and then great battles late on between Yves Baltas and Lucas Dunner, with Raul Guzman closing onto their tail very late on. In terms of the championship situation then, well, Felipe Drugovich is well clear, but then look at the fight for second in the standings. Mateus Iorio, Marcus Siebert, Ben Fiscal and Cameron Das all very closely bunched, just 10 points separate them. Guilherme Smire climbs to 6th on the strength of his good weekend. And overall, it has been a very, very enjoyable weekend of racing in the Euro Formula Open here in Paul Ricard. In both races, some superb scraps going on throughout the field. The drivers can quite proudly, I think, enjoy the claim of the marshals. They head back round to Parc Ferme. It's a fighting drive to 6th for Marcus Siebert. Guilherme Smire, likewise, a very, very good job done to maintain 4th place, despite that sustained late race pressure from Alex Karkozic. And moving on from Paul Ricard, the next stop, the championship, the 9th and 10th of June, is one of the crown jewels of the season. The trip to Spa-Francorchamps always produces excellent racing in the Euro Formula Open, and a track that the drivers hope to excel on, both in this championship and then onwards through their careers. Hopefully they would think towards Formula One. Well, Felipe Drugovich has completely dominated both races. And again, it's the first couple of laps that breaks the rest of the field. As he completed lap 1, he was 1.8 seconds clear of the rest of the pack, helped by Mateus Iorio having to get his elbows out to hold on to 2nd position. And with a little bit of a gap in the traffic, it meant that Drugovich was able to break away. So into Parc Ferme, another chance to celebrate for Felipe Drugovich and the RP Motorsport team. They couldn't have done anything more this weekend in Paul Ricard. Drugovich hops out, goes to thank the team. And RP Motorsport congratulate him, as does Mateus Iorio. It's the same for Carlin. They've had a really impressive day as well. Second time this year, they've got both their cars on to the overall race rostrum. Drugovich unclips himself from his helmet and hands device. It's a handshake from Cameron Das. And barely looks like he's even broken sweat. His driving style just is so smooth at the wheel of the car. It never looks hurried. As a result, plenty to smile about for RP Motorsport in Parc Ferme. Already the Carlin team just talking about how the car was performing during the race. Immediate hot debrief.
Felipe Drugovich, again P1, a perfect weekend, huh?
Yeah, that was really a perfect weekend. 2 pole positions, 2 fastest lap, 2 wins. I think couldn't ask for more. Team did an amazing job. The car was superb through the whole weekend. So yeah, I just need to thank them again. And yeah, I think we should keep working like this and keep thinking about P1s throughout the season now.
easier today?
No. For sure, never is easy. I mean, I was pushing some laps to see what time I could do, but then of course I had a huge gap, so didn't have to push that much. So yeah, really happy.
Well done, parabéns.
So from pole position, Felipe Drugovich converted as the lights went out, whereas the man he shared the front row with, Matteo Siorio, had to defend from both Bent Viscal and Guilherme Samaya as they jostled for position heading into the opening turns. Samaya, who emerged initially with his nose in front, then Iorio was able to claim that second place. Further back down through the field, there was some absolutely brilliant fighting, at least between Viscal and Alex Karkozic in the early stages, but eventually Karkozic was able to ease away with teammate Marcus Siebert. Giannis Fitcher went wheel to wheel with Aldo Fustante. Cameron Das, meanwhile, pulling off a bold move on Guilherme Samaya to take third position. Samaya eventually running out of road, having to concede the place, and as he rejoined, that put him under immediate threat from Marcus Siebert and Alex Karkozic. Siebert lost ground in that instance, but then fought back through the field well, going wheel to wheel with Bent Viscal, eventually getting the better of the Dutchman. Giannis Fitcher was also in the thick of the action, enjoying pretty much a race-long tussle with Aldo Fustante. But for Felipe Drugovich, the perfect weekend. 2 victories, 2 pole positions, 2 fastest laps. Job done for the Brazilian and his RP Motorsport team. Second place to Matteo Siorio. A fine day for Carlin because they got both their cars onto the rostrum, with Cameron Das in third. Bent Viscal, the top rookie, in 7th. So on to the third step of the podium for Cameron Das. Runner-up, Matteo Siorio. And race winner, Felipe Drugovich. So there's the light of the RP Motorsport team. Third triumph of the year for Drugovich. So national anthem in honour of Felipe Drugovich, championship leader, and commandingly so after the opening quartet of races in the 2018 campaign. Second trip to the rostrum for Cameron Das. Third podium for Matteo Siorio of the season. And for Felipe Drugovich, another triumph himself and the RP Motorsport squad. So all smiles on the podium, and then time to make merry with the bubbly. The drivers will turn their attention to Spa-Francorchamps on the 9th and 10th of June, where the championship will continue. Drugovich disappears to drench his team members. Teammates and the Iorio drench each other. We'll turn our attention to the rookie roster. It was a great race in the rookie class today, with Aldo Fustante finishing third in the class to his RP Motorsport teammate Michael Benyaya. Bent Viscal continuing his run of rookie trophy triumphs, but this a race-long battle really for the Dutchman. He was always in the thick of the action, commanding the rookie championship already, and well up in the overall standings. I think Aldo Fustante and Michael Benyaya enjoyed that. They were certainly going wheel to wheel for much of the race. Viscal for RP Motorsport to the top step of the podium. It's been a good weekend for Aldo Fustante. building on the potential that he showed in Estoril. Likewise for Michael Benyard, the pace is there. I'm sure that consistent top 10 finishes will follow before too long. So excellent racing throughout the past couple of days here in France. We will be back on the 9th and 10th of June at Spa-Francorchamps for the 5th and 6th rounds of the Euro Formula Open season. Until then, it's goodbye from Paul Ricard.